Coach Prime and the JSU Tigers are 9-0 after their 41-14 win over Texas Southern. It's the first time in school history they've been 9-0 undefeated this deep into the season. And there's really no reason to think they're going to lose another game. And I have one individual player on why this team is 9-0 this year. Let's talk about it after the bumper. What's up, everybody? What is going on, everybody? My name is JeffLightsyJr. This is the Victory Formation Sports Show. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button, like, share, and subscribe. Now, today I'm here to talk about Jackson State. They're 9-0 after a 41-14 victory over Texas Southern. Shedeur Sanders had 4 touchdowns. This was a prediction I made. I said they'd win 42-14. They won 41-14. People were like, oh, do you think they're going to give up 14 points? Well, they happened to do it. I got to pat yourself on the back when you're right. Sometimes it's nice to be right. But I'm here today to talk about why they're 9-0. Obviously, we know the defense has been playing stellar. They're giving up we're 9 games into the season, and this defense is giving up single digits in points. Single digits, while the offense is scoring 40 points per game. So they're beating teams by an average of 31 points per game. It's ridiculous. But the guy that I'm here to talk about today is none other than my favorite player on the team, and that is Sy'Veon Wilkerson. Yes, Sy'Veon Wilkerson has established himself as top 2 and maybe not 2 as running backs in all of HBCU football and running back specifically in the SWAC. I think Maurice Washington would have something to say. I mean, he did just have 200 yards on 10 carries, which is absurd. And I'll talk about that in another video. But Sy'Veon Wilkerson, I think he is the single most reason, like the single best reason why, if we're talking one entity, why this team is 9-0. He is the biggest, most drastic difference on the entire team outside of the offensive line. And I guess you have to combine the two. The offensive line and Sy'Veon Wilkerson are the two biggest differences from this year's team, the 2022 team, to last year's team. And you can say, oh, the offensive line still, struggles at times. What? Bullcrap. Get away from me with all of that. When a team's averaging 40 points per game, and your quarterback's got 20-something odd passing touchdowns and only 5 interceptions and hasn't been sacked that many times, that's a big credit to the offensive line. But I want to talk about Sy'Veon Wilkerson and the reason why he is the biggest difference against Texas Southern. I mean, I'm going to show you a play. First of all, let's look at his numbers against Texas Southern. If you were living under a rock, you missed the game. The young man had 26 totes for 214 yards, averaged 8 yards a carry, and finished with 2 touchdowns. No offense to Santee Marshall, no offense to no one else, but this should have been the game plan from the jump. It's been the game plan for the most part, but early in the season, you could tell they were giving the other guys equal reps, right? Santee started a few games. J.D. Martin got a few carries over Sy'Veon early parts of the year, but for the most part, and then Sy'Veon fumbled a couple of times early in the year. But since he got the ball under control, there's been no reason not to go to number 36. There's been no reason not to give him 25, 26 carries. There's no reason why he shouldn't be averaging over 5 yards per carry for the year and 8 yards per carry in this individual game. And like I said, this is the biggest, along with the offensive line play, because here's the things we knew coming into this year. We knew Shedeur would he would grow. They continue to add weapons. They got a new offensive line, a new one, and was supposed to be improved. We didn't know how improved they'd be, but we knew they went out and got 10 offensive linemen in the transfer portal. So we knew the offensive line, hopefully, or we assumed that they would be better. And if they took a step up, Shedeur would take a step up. Shedeur won all those awards with a terrible offensive line and no running game last year. So we knew if he got somewhat of a running game and an improved offensive line, he would be doing what he's currently doing, 27 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, et cetera, et cetera. So that is expected. The defense, Coach Dennis Thurman and those guys, you add a Travis Hunter, you add all those guys through the transfer portal, you keep guys like Aubrey Miller, Cameron Craig, et cetera, et cetera. You knew those guys would be good, and they've been beyond good. So I don't want to take away anything from the defense. When you're giving up 9 points per game, you're at the top in every statistical category, not in SWAC football, not in HBCU football. We're talking about all of FCS. You get your flowers. I'm not diminishing them or disparaging them. I'm not diminishing Shedeur or disparaging Shedeur. I'm not diminishing the wide receiver group or disparaging those guys. Those guys have all been kind of balanced. Shane Hooks leads the team in touchdowns. Dallas Daniel leads the teams in catches and receptions. All of those guys are kind of maybe one of them will break 1,000 yards on the season, but all of those guys are pretty even. As great as statistics that Shedeur has been putting up, the wide receivers, there's no one that's like clearly separated themselves. And I went on to say their best wide receivers riding the bench, and that's Malachi Wideman, but that's neither here nor there. Sy'Veon Wilkerson, though, is a guy that stands out from the pack. I mean, I'm going to show you one play from Saturday, and this is fair use. I don't want to get in trouble or anything, with whatever. But this was posted. I mean, obviously, this is from the game. This was posted on Light On College Sports. Shout out to Light On College Sports, Jonathan and those guys. And this is just an example of why he is the biggest difference maker from last year to the
second down, and they go back to
actually cut the audio off. And he busts through there to the crib. A play where he should have been tackled at the line of scrimmage. A play where he should have been tackled at the line of scrimmage. He was able to bust through there and take it all the way to the crib for 6. And you see, he's not a guy that speaks a whole lot. He's going to run the replay. It's not a guy that's a big talker. He's not a guy but he is enthusiastic and he loves the game of football. He runs angry. Look at this angry power running. You get good blocks. He should be tackled right here. Like there is 1, 2, 3, 4 Texas Southern defenders around him. This should be a tackle with more coming into pursuit from the outside. This should be a tackle for a 4-yard gain, 4 or 5-yard gain. This play should be over right here. And somehow, some way, he squirts out of there with his low center of gravity, shows off the speed, beats the corners with the angles, and ends up in the touchdown for one of his 2 touchdowns on the game. If you don't believe me when I say that this is a drastic improvement from last year, let me just show you. It's easy. Like I can show you plays like that from the entire season. And once again, he hasn't started every game. He hasn't even gotten the majority carries in every single game. But look at, and this is no offense to the running backs from last year, but I want to show you these cumulative numbers from last season. This was JSU's running game last year, right? Their leading rusher was Peyton Pickett. Really behind him was Santee Marshall. They both finished with over 480 yards, right? No dominant, established themselves type of running back. Pickett had 1 more carry than Santee, and he had 8 more yards than Santee, right? Pickett averaged 37 yards per game last year, rushing. He averaged 37. Santee averaged 34. Pickett and Santee together, they averaged 4.2 a carry. But Pickett, Santee, and J.D. Martin had 11 total touchdowns through 12 games. This is through 12 games last year. And this is like I said, no offense to them. But this is how drastic the running game is made. Like I said, 2 guys that averaged a combined, less than 70 yards, right at 70 yards per game. Combined, right at 71. If you add J.D. Martin's, you're right at 92, 93? You add his 22 a game. So right at 93 yards between the 2 of them. That's not a well-oiled machine when it comes to running backs. That's not something that you can depend on late in games when you're trying to close teams out. That's not a dependable service from that position group. And that's not, once again, not disparaging those guys, but that just was what it was. You can blame some of that on offensive line. You can blame some of that on the talent level. There's a lot of blame to go around. You can blame some of that on the play calling from the coaches or whatever. This is what Wilkerson brings to you. Right now, through 9 games, he's already at 900 yards, 903 yards per on the season, 5.8 a carry. 5.8 a carry. Through 9 games, over 900 yards, that means he's averaging over 100 yards per game. Averaging over 100 yards per game and has 7 total touchdowns. And there's still at least, 3 games left on the season? 7 total touchdowns. Remember, he didn't start the season as RB number 1 on the depth chart. Remember, he at some of the games, he didn't even get the majority of the carries, or they didn't really focus on him or feature him a part of the offense early in the season. And he's still over almost 6 yards per carry, over 100 yards per game, and already has 7 touchdowns with at least 3 games left. Knock on wood, he stays healthy. He'll break that 11 touchdowns already. Remember, Santee had 484, and JD and Pickett had 492. Sy'Veon, both of those guys combined, he's about to pass those. He's about to pass those. He's about to break 1,000 yards. Remember, there's not a receiver that may or may not break 1,000 yards catching, receiving. Sy'Veon's going to break that. Sy'Veon's at 900 yards. He didn't start every game. He wasn't the feature back in every game. He's over 100 yards per game. And because of that, he's allowed other folks to make plays when necessary. Other folks to make plays when necessary. Other folks, the play action is now a part of the playbook. The just straight, okay, we're about to run this team off the field is now part of the playbook. The smash mouth football that you weren't able to do, but because of the improvement on the offensive line and the running back known as Sy'Veon Wilkerson, you're able to hit people in the mouth, and there's nothing they can do about it. That is the biggest difference between this year's team and last year's team. Shador's growth, we could have predicted. The defense playing stellar, we could have predicted. The offensive line improvement, we damn sure predicted that. The play of Sy'Veon Wilkerson is the reason why this team doesn't look like they can be beat this season. Now, for the folks that were looking for a Celebration Bowl rematch, Morgan State dropped another one. They lost to Dell State. It looks as if Morgan State, with those losses to Morgan and Dell State in consecutive weeks, doesn't look like they're returning back to Celebration Bowl. Not in a conference that only has, five? You only play 5 conference games. And North Carolina Central has kind of established themselves as the team to beat out the MEAC, especially with no MEAC championship game. You got to remember that. There's also no MEAC championship game. So it's looking like we're on a collision course. Now, Jackson State has to continue and handle the business like they're supposed to. And so does North Carolina Central, not letting either team off the hook. But if they continue to do what they are currently doing and what they're supposed to do, it looks like they're on a collision course to the Celebration Bowl. This is December 16th or so. So, yeah, Sy'Veon Wilkerson. He's the biggest reason why this team is playing so well. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Leave your thoughts on Sy'Veon Wilkerson and the biggest improvement on this season for the JSU Tigers, a team that is 9-0 for the first time in school history. My name is JeffLightsyJr. This is the Victory Formation Sports Show. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button. We're still on the challenge to get more members. We're going to have some giveaways for the members. Hit that thumbs up button, like, share, and subscribe. And to support the channel, you can join. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out. Also, we'll have CJ Lockhart on the program. So be sure to check out that interview with CJ Lockhart, 2023 4-star wide receiver commit that runs a 10.75 in the 100. He is blazing. He is bringing a lot of speed to Jackson. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Peace.